And here's to all of you, our amazing Olympians, for everything that you do to make lives better.
Now, all throughout our time here, the Lord, by the way, these lights are motion censored. That's why they suddenly turn off when no one's walking around. In any case, let's move on. So Lorca has its own set of rules and values that we have been following these past 20 years to make sure that we stay afloat and to make sure that we continue to make lives better one interaction at a time. First off is our brand. I'm not sure if you remembered what Andy said earlier, but what we said was a good brand is a promise. And our brand is what we stand for. Our vision is to make lives better one interaction at a time. Our mission is to create insanely great customer experiences. Our promise are the 3 Ps. Passion, performance, possibilities. Passion is our eagerness to help others and solve problems. Performance is our commitment to deliver results. Possibilities is our desire to challenge the status quo, inspire creative thinking, and generate innovative solutions. We also have our personal values here. Be connected, be relentless, be bold. Now, let's see one of our core values. Stand up and practice reading what's on the screen. Yes. What's your name? Okay, Jim, please stand up and read our first core value, be connected.
Be connected. Our people are everything. And our obsession with being the best comes from a culture of diversity, acceptance, and community. We work as a team and stand together.
All right, very well read. Thank you very much. So, what we mean by be connected here, we need to make sure to remember that we are all a team. We need to work together as a team. So if any of you guys have any concerns and problems, you can approach your teammates or you can approach me. Okay? Now, let's move on to our second core value, which is be bold. Would anyone like to volunteer? Yes, Ibo. All right. Stand up.
Be bold. We ask the questions other won't. We arm ourselves with information and diligently pursue new paths to shatter the status quo. That's how we define our future and we define our future.
All right, very good, Kipo. Now, I just want to extend this throughout the room as well. I have a question for you. Do I talk fast? Okay, it's all right. You can admit if I talk or don't talk fast. However, here's one thing that I'd like to extend to all of you. I'd like for all of you guys to not try to talk too fast. Why? For something like this, you can say it fast. It's a pretty short paragraph. But if you talk too fast and you train yourself to talk too fast, you might end up making some mistakes in your pronunciation and grammar. For example, us Filipinos tend to skip over S sounds. And I have a question here. Which one of you guys are fresh graduates? Raise your hands. Which one of you guys are undergraduates? Raise your hands. Just recently? Okay. A lot of us, since we spend most of our time learning English in schools, especially when it comes to reviewing for our tests or quizzes, we have developed a reading style called skimming. Skimming is when you just, like the word implies, skim over certain words in a paragraph in order to digest information faster, which is a very effective strategy when it comes to reviewing and when it comes to studying. But when asked to read something up on the screen, it might become a detriment. Why? Because when we skip over words, our brains will create alternatives. Earlier, I heard someone said, comes from a culture or diversity instead of, or sometimes we say for instead of. Why? That doesn't necessarily mean that you read that wrong. You literally skipped over the word. So, where am I going with this? When asked to read something on the screen, practice training your eyes on every single word in the paragraph and reading them out loud to avoid mistakes. There will be some times when you guys are Asians where you will be asked to read from a call flow. And sometimes, not always, some of these are verbatim, meaning that you just read what's on the call flow. But if you skim and read fast, you might end up making errors by mistake. Okay? So train yourself to have a new skill. Read every word in the paragraph bit by bit. It's okay if you read slow. This is not a race. We have a saying. Slow is steady and steady is fast. So long as you guys sound understandable and you're able to read most things, I mean, audio. Just make sure that you read them properly. Okay? Now, let's move on to our next core value, which is be relentless. Would anyone like to volunteer? Be relentless. No volunteers? Okay. Why don't I go ahead? Okay, thank you, Tim. But why don't I go ahead and give this one to Jelly? Jelly, why don't you read our next core value, please? Be relentless.
We deliver on commitments. We exceed expectations. We learn something new every day. Obstacles are inevitable, but our resilience never fades.
Very good. Well read, Jelly. So, what did he say there? Obstacles are inevitable, but our resilience never fails. Let's practice some words here. I'd like for everyone to say resilience.
Resilience.
Now, you've noticed that that is spoken with a Z, correct? It's despite the fact that it is spelled with an S, correct? Because there are some words in the English language, despite the fact that they are spelled with an S, they are actually pronounced with a Z. Don't worry, we'll learn more about that throughout the week. One more time, resilience.
Resilience.
What does resilience mean? Resilience means your ability to overcome situations by being persistent, by continuing despite mistakes or setbacks. I'm going to have to step outside. Speaking of setbacks,
Resilience.
I can accent.
okay. They tend to be lively. That's what Bits for Coffee does for me. Anyway, let's continue on. Be relentless. Like I was saying here, we need to be able to adjust despite setbacks. I will not be judging you simply by your mistakes. I will be judging you based on how you handle said mistakes. Why? Because I'll be honest with you. Once you guys become call center agents, you will make mistakes. No one here is perfect. To err is human. We will make mistakes. There will be times where you will end up reading the incorrect information to your caller. There will be times where you end up skipping a part in the call flow. But I want you guys to be able to practice to keep going. A lot of us have a bad habit that when we make a mistake, we want to go back and try everything all over again. Unfortunately, life isn't a video game or a Netflix show. You can't just rewind. You can't just go back. So you have to keep moving forward. You have to be relentless. Now, let's read out our final core value, be true. Yes, you know. Please read our final core value, be true.
We hold ourselves to the highest standards. We're accountable for our actions. We do the right thing, respect for all of the integrity above all else.
All right, very good, very well read. Let's practice some things here. Remember to not add an S where there is none, and to not, or to say an S when there is one. Okay, let's practice saying standard.
Standard.
Now, there's one thing I'd like for everyone to practice here, as early as now. We're going to learn more about this all throughout. But when it comes to pronouncing the A sound, right? Because I'm going to say something right now. The goal of our training here is not to give you guys an American accent. That's not the goal of our training. The goal of this training is to teach everyone how to speak a neutral accent. What's the difference? An American accent is indicative of what state of the United States you are from. Someone from Texas might sound different when compared to someone from Boston. Someone from Washington might sound different when compared to someone from Louisiana, so on and so forth. We're not trying to teach you their accents. We're trying to teach you how to speak in a neutral accent. Now, another thing, I'm not expecting everyone to be perfect in just 4 days. The goal of this training is to teach you guys what to be more aware of, so that while you're practicing to be agents, you will continue to practice pronunciation. So, let's practice the S sound. I'd like for everyone, let's practice the A sounds first. When we say the American A, you need to keep note of 2 things. 1, don't drop your jaw. And 2, smile. So what do you mean don't drop your jaw? Try to keep your teeth as close together as you can when you say the A. Then smile. Standard.
Standard.
That's right. Does it feel weird? That's correct. Of course it does. Why? Because you guys are going to learn how to try a new muscle memory in your face. Now, the thing about this is, the reason why we Filipinos have a heavy accent is because we've all spoken Filipino all throughout our lives. Not just Filipino. I'm pretty sure there are some people here in the room who speak with their local dialect. It's not enough to know how a sound or how a letter sounds. It's not enough. You're going to learn how to practice it to speak with your face. It's all about muscle memory. So even if you already know the pronunciation, you're still going to say it like this, standard. That's how we Filipinos speak, right? Standard. We drop our jaw and we don't smile. Because it is coinciding with the Filipino vowels. What are the Filipino vowels? That's right. A, E, I, O, U, A. Standard. Right? What are the American vowels? A, E, I, O, U. Standard. One more time. Standard.
Standard.
Very good. We'll practice it. Don't worry. It takes some getting used to. Now, what do we mean by this? Be true. Be honest with yourselves if you are in a situation where you feel like you have to, where you need help. Okay? Be honest with yourselves. Be honest with me. Because remember, there will be times where you will make mistakes, and you need to be able to have the fortitude to go to your supervisor, let them know what your mistake is so that you can fix it. That's why we want to be honest from day one. I'm pretty sure that you guys are under the mentality or have been told by your friends when you were applying to the company, just don't tell that part to the recruitment officer. Just don't tell them about the fact you're a student. Just don't tell them about the fact that you're enrolling next week. Just keep that hush-hush. Well, you can do that. But what happens when that comes back to bite you in the ass because you realize that you are not going to be given the schedule that you wanted, and you do not have the choice to be given a schedule. You will have to follow the schedule the company gives you. So just keep that in mind as early as now. If there are complications or something that you think will be a hindrance in the future, come to me and be honest about it. Now, let's move on to the 3 P's. Our promise, passion, performance, possibilities. Alorga is a global company. We have sites all around the world and different cultures working with us. So, what do these 3 P's mean? Despite the differences in cultures of our several sites. Just a moment here, guys.
Passion is having an eagerness to come to work on time every day, making sure you do your job every day, and having the faith to get through the day.
Mabini ang paghimo sa unsay igalipay nimo.
Having a strong desire to be successful in any specific subject.
激情对于我来说就是用最积极的态度把工作做到最好。It's a burning desire. It's like a fire that cannot be quenched, whether deep down or superficial.
Simuyo na damdamin ay pag-abot sa nakaisangka.
A desire to be happy in what you do, loving every day going into work.
Es invertir, tener la convicción de que puede ser la solución para algo. Amar lo que hacemos con la esperanza de saborear el éxito a través de aquellos a quienes hemos servido y ayudado.
Kaya mi ito makisabay bisab sa bali.
It is passion that drives purpose, and without purpose, people drift through life underachieving.
Ang pagganap ay pagbibigay ng 100% sa lahat ng oras.
Feeling the purpose in the very best of my ability. Ang mahimong masaligan 110%.
Being able to see the potential in every individual. And we don't find that potential, we can drive results, so we can make it to the next level.
业绩对于我来说是一个组织利用有效的资源，以最高效的方式达成目标。
Performance is a physical manifestation of passion.
Aramid mi katagsurok te expectasyon.
Es lo que te define como individuo y como equipo en esta industria. Al cumplir con lo ofrecido y más allá de lo esperado.
Giving 110% every day, completing tasks that are given to you. Also, making sure you fill classes.
Es ver el vaso medio lleno siempre. Las posibilidades son muchas si tienes voluntad. Te mantienes positivo y enfocado en lo que tú, tu gente y tu comunidad pueden transformarse.
Estoy en un espacio donde puedas ser tú mismo. Estoy en un espacio donde puedes mostrar tanto tus habilidades como tus ideas.
Being with a company that will afford you to move up in any way, shape, or form.
Katpatumbol, ito na idumduma solusyon.
能性意味着一切皆有可能，只要我们努力工作，我们就能创造奇迹。
It's also defying impossibilities that are faced into our life.
Ang pagkakaroon ng malawak at malikhaing kaisipan.
Ang paghimo sa mga bagong pamaagi, aron sa padayon, ang paglaro.
Our purpose
And our belief,
is to make life better.
one interaction
At a time.
Our mission
Is to create
insanely great customer experiences.
Kiko，中国大连，我是 Alorica 人。
David Daniel, Green Tree, Pennsylvania, United States. I am Alora.
Soy Luis Vargas, de la ciudad de Guatemala, y yo soy Eloy.
from Fort Worth, Jamaica. I am Alorica.
Carolina García, de Sevilla, Uruguay. Soy de América.
Hi, my name is Eddie. I'm from Tucson, Arizona, from our beautiful Tucson East facility, and I am Alorica.
I am Janisha Mitchell from Omaha, Nebraska. I am Alora.
Hazel Ann Padua, Lawag, Ilocos Norte, Pilipinas. Siya, Kit Alorica.
Dan Dermo, Maynila, Pilipinas. Ako ay Alorica.
Kit Mora, Cebu, Pilipinas. Alorica ako. Sam Howard from St. Mary's, Antigua, and I am Alorica. Passion,
Performance.
possibilities.
Those are our cities from the different people we have all around the world. Speaking of around the world, Alorica has worked with many leading branches globally. We have worked with the Global 500 that represents 70% of our business. We have worked with 4 of the top 5 wireless companies, 4 of the top 10 largest banks on the Fortune 500, and 4 of the top 10 largest car manufacturers. We have also worked with 3 of the largest consumer electronics manufacturers, 4 of the top 8 healthcare companies on the Fortune 500, 5 of the world's largest retailers, 3 of the 5 largest technology companies. So you name them, Alorica has worked with them. We have sites worldwide. We have 100,000 employees in 14 countries, 100 plus locations across both time zones. We have 2 sites in Canada, 55 in the United States, 5 in Mexico, 4 in Guatemala, 1 in Honduras, 3 in Panama, 1 in Uruguay, 2 in Jamaica, 2 in the Dominican Republic, 1 in Bulgaria, and 1 in India. And in Asia alone, we have over 2 sites in China, 1 in Japan, and 24 sites in Europe. We have many sites all around the world. In fact, there are some times where we have programs where we send our agents or we send our team managers and team leaders to our sites either within the Philippines or outside of the country. So let's get to learn more about our current guide, who is Bong Borja. He has another quote for us all. Well, not Bong Borja. Earlier you read a message from Adeline. Now you'll be reading a note from Bong Borja. Why don't we go ahead and give this one to Dan. Dan, can you please read what's on the screen for us?
Each member of our team has direct impact on our company's growth, sustainability, and overall success. Every experience brings a new way of learning, leading us to explore more possibilities, allowing us to learn new ways of coping and paving in the way for further growth and stability for our team. A note from Bong Borja, Chief Operating Officer.
Okay, that's Bong Borja.
Yeah.
All right, let's try that again. Borja.
Borja.
All right, so that was a note from Bong Borja, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Alorica. So, yes, sometimes he actually also moves around the sites. Both him and our current president, Ray, they tend to roam around the sites if ever you guys get assigned. Now, let's move on to our next part, which is going to be all about our tools testing. For this part, I heavily recommend you guys start taking down notes. because I'm going to be giving you instructions on how to access your tools. More specifically, how to access your computer tools and your cell phone tools. Will we be doing that today? No. But I have some homework for you guys, and I'll say it as early as now. I want you to make sure that your phones are charged and you have mobile data. Why? For two reasons. One, I'll be asking you guys to create a Facebook group chat so that we all have a place where we can disseminate information. So if any of us are late or are absent or are in an emergency, you can reach out to us in the group chat. Second reason is by Thursday, we will be testing out our tools. What do we mean by our tools? I'll be asking you to log into your PCs and your phones to find out if your employee IDs are working. So as early as today, I'm going to be telling you the format for your username and your password. You don't have your IDs yet, but I'll make sure to get you guys a schedule for your IDs within the week. But even though you don't have IDs, all of you are active employees in our system. So I will be reading you your employee IDs later as well. This is the format for your tools. Now this is just an example format. This is not going to be your username and your password. This is just going to be a format to follow for when you do use your username and password. The format for your username is your first name initial, last name initial, 00 followed by your employee ID. So if my name is Frank Poland, that's FP00 followed by my employee ID. 5979048. Right? Now, you guys will also be assigned a work email address. Your work email address is basically your username followed by @alorica.com. That's it. So you will be asked to log in either using your username or your employee email address. Again, your username is first name initial, last name initial, 00, then employee ID, and your email address is your username followed by @alorica.com. Next up would be your password. This will be your default password for the week. By next week, you will be asked by your product trainer to change that into a more personal and secure password for yourselves. But for now, the format will be Alorica with the capital A, followed by your month of birth, day of birth, then 2021. Yes, it says you're hired. That should be 2023. But for now, all passwords in our systems are registered to 2021. So if your birthday is on March 2nd, that's going to be Alorica 0302 2021. Okay? So let's take note of the format. I'll be asking you guys to use that format to log in either by tomorrow or Thursday. Before we go on our first break, I'll be asking everyone to take note of their employee IDs. Okay? If you are not able to take down the notes yet, you can just ask them from your teammates later. Moving on, what are we going to be using our passwords for? We're going to be using them to access Alorica Connect. Alorica Connect is basically, Alorica Connect is basically a website that we use to allow our employees to know more about our tools and company. So let me